Fellow clueless gamers, what is happening? Welcome back to the third episode of Cluecast. I'm Nemesis, or Travis Crawford, joined by my boy, Luke Carr17, or Luke Carmichael.
One or the other. It doesn't matter.
Luke, man, you always ask me every week what I've been playing. How about I ask you this week, man? What have you been playing?
Well, this week I have been playing a mixture of games. Once again, I've been so stuck on FIFA 16. I've been playing manager mode like it's my job. Legitimately, like it's a job in the game, but I've been playing a lot. I've also been playing some Call of Duty when you're on with you guys, and that's about it, honestly. What about you? What have you been playing this week?
I've been on COD, still attempting the nuked out challenge and getting killed by random grenades. I mean, I even threw on Flak Jacket and played a little bit of Core, and I still got killed by nades, but it's whatever.
Oh,
it honestly drove me to take a break and play Fallout 4, which I've had since launch, and I have not played since launch because of Black Ops 3, dang it, freaking Treyarch. But, I mean, I've been having a great time on Fallout 4, and it's a good thing I've enjoyed my week playing it in moderation. Otherwise, that video I posted last week about having no life, I might actually have sunk into that with Fallout 4. That's that kind of game.
Wow. I figured it was going to happen eventually, and it's going to happen now. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that you've been playing some Fallout, and you got some more games coming your way. So, other than those two games, we're playing and talking. Well, we're not playing. We're talking about something that is different than all of those games, but similar at the same time. We're going to be previewing Tom Clancy's The Division. Dun, 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 dun. I'm really excited about it, as you can tell.
That was extremely impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, so Tom Clancy's The Division. This is going to be an amazing game. It's making me, poop my pants a little. It did back in the day. So let's talk a little bit. Let's give everyone an overall summary about what Tom Clancy's The Division is, because if you're listening right now, you may have no idea what it is. You might be like, Division, I hate doing Division in math. That's hard. It's not that, I promise. It's way funner than Division. This is going to be an epic game. First of all, it comes out March 8th, 2016, which is this year. And let's talk about the plot. I'm going to read a little bit about the plot real quick because it's going to be the best way to say it without me sounding like an idiot. Okay. So in 2001, an operation known as Dark Winter was launched, which was a real world exercise that tested their emergency response to a bioterror attack on the United States. The simulation spiraled out of control within a few days and predicted that a breakdown in essential institutions, civil disorder, massive civilization, casualties. So basically, this crazy bioterror weapon, crazy, disgusting thing full of money and dark. It's just something bad happened. Basically, New York, this takes place in New York City. New York City is evacuated. There's like a disease that runs through, and it's a virus. So basically, 3 weeks before the events of The Division, on November 23rd, they're real specific with dates, the day known as Black Friday, a virus began spreading through banknotes that started to spread through human skin, food, toys, causing millions of people to become infected. Within 5 days, the virus caused the United States to break down and fall apart. So, during the events of Tom Clancy's Division in New York City, a classified unit of highly trained, self-supported tactical agents known as the Division, quote unquote, is set out to prevent the falling society from the virus. So, to sum it up, the Division is set in New York City, a post-apocalyptic kind of, where this virus that was kind of planted by the government type of thing around Thanksgiving just destroyed New York. And it's just, there's no one there. Tons of people died. Tons of people got infected. And now there's these high-tech looking Division people who are there to essentially rebuild New York City. And it just takes place in New York City. It's not anywhere else right now. I mean, in the future or way down the line, maybe it's happening in LA too. I don't know. But that's pretty much what it is, Travis. And there's lots that goes into this game. That's just the plot summary kind of. The game is going to be a RPG / MMO / sandbox / open world game. So it's a big open world map.
Mm-hmm.
There is multiplayer happening at all times, kind of like Destiny.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know who who are quote unquote clueless, MMO stands for massively multiplayer online game, and RPG is basically a role playing game. So you basically play through a character that you've created and level up and things like that.
Yes.
Just for those of you who don't know, but yes.
Yes.
It has some qualities that are similar to Destiny in some ways, and are similar to other games that we've seen in MMO titles.
Exactly. And it's just to let you guys know, like, we are talking about this game and previewing this game because we are the clueless gamers. Clueless is there for a reason. We're just as clueless as you are. I mean, we have the knowledge and the notes and the facts about this game, but we want to give you a clue about what this game is about and what you have to look forward to, because it's coming out fairly quick, and if you haven't heard about it, you're missing out, because this is going to be an epic game, in my opinion. It might not be. You never know with what Ubisoft does. So, like I said, the locations, it's in New York City. When they first showed this game back in 2013 at E3, they previewed gameplay in Brooklyn. Well, just recently, right after the alpha came out, and there's a trailer for the beta, basically, with some gameplay trailer stuff. They essentially announced that Brooklyn will not be in the game. It's more of a Midtown New York and Manhattan / area. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but as of right now, the map a little bit different than we may have thought it was before, but you will be able to go to the main places. This, and when I say middle New York, this is like Times Square type of New York, like the big iconic buildings that you're gonna know, basically, rather than if a lot of people aren't from Brooklyn, or when you think of New York, you don't think of Brooklyn, you think more of Times Square and the big buildings and the Empire State Building, stuff like that. So yeah, there's lots and lots of weapons. A couple of them, there's the Molotov, there's a R700 Vector. There's some of these cool guns that are more modern. This is like a modern type of warfare game, if you would think of it in that instance. It's not as much just random guns that we've never heard of as much as it is regular guns. You got this cool looking, orange circle on your backpack, and each agent, division agent, kind of looks the same. They have a backpack, they have gloves, body armor, knee pads, thighs. They look like, army guys, but stylish army guys. They look like hipster army guys, in my opinion.
Hipster army guys, what?
They got and this is set.
That character customization is something that I think we should be excited for, in all honesty. People can customize their guns, their loadouts, their skill trees even, and especially physical appearances on their characters. It looks super, super in-depth from what I've seen of gameplay online.
Yeah, it's very in-depth. It comes all the way down to abilities. Like, there's different skills, talents, and perks that enhance the different gameplay experiences based on the skills that you learn inside or that your character is unique to.
Which is super cool, if you ask me, because I might play totally different from you, and me and you, let's just get this out of the way. We're going to play this game together, so that might work really well, and that diversity that the level of customization they're trying to bring to the table might create a really cool experience, and who knows, we might work well together with our different play styles, and we'll see, when the game launches, or maybe even in the beta, if those things can create a fun experience.
Exactly, and it's really based on a lot of teamwork and a lot of being in groups of people. A lot of the gameplay that they've shown and that people have played and that people showed in the alpha was groups, division agents, not division agent. Like, you're not going to be by yourself, if essentially it's what they don't want you to be. Like, it'd be me and Travis and another person probably just walking around roaming New York, going to different places. So there's a bunch of different factions that we're going to encounter. There's going to be division agents, other ones like us. There's going to be cleaners, thugs, the police, Rikers, and CERA. I don't know if it's pronounced Sarah or Kirka, or I don't know, but CERA. So that's essential because there's all kinds of different areas. There's going to be tons of different areas in the map. I've seen some specific zones. There's a certain amount of zones. I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of zones in the map where each of these types of factions are going to be located. So that brings us into, we've talked a lot about the overall plot, the gameplay, type of stuff like that. Whereas maybe I didn't let you guys know that this is also going to be a third-person game. It's a third-person shooter, so that means you see the person. If you don't know what third person is, it's where...
It's basically the camera hovering behind your character.
Exactly. And that is... I love those types of games just because it kind of makes you feel the atmosphere a little bit more because you can see everything around you from the character, not from the character's perspective, but from their outside area. So there's going to be missions. There's going to be multiplayer. So basically, if you guys don't know this, let's explain what difference between PvP is and what PvE is. So PvP is player versus player, which is like multiplayer. That's like being on Call of Duty and playing team deathmatch. You're playing against other real people. PvP, player versus player. PvE is player versus environment, meaning like single player or anything that's not an actual player, like an NPC or something like that. So there's going to be both of those. And this is important because I've been leading into this. There is a place in the map, right in the middle of the map, called the Dark Zone. So in the game Watch Dogs, I don't know if you're familiar with this, Travis, whenever it came to multiplayer, Ubisoft usually has like a certain type of multiplayer technique that they do. They try to integrate it into the single player because typically these games are single player based and they want to have that multiplayer, ability. So in this one, there is a zone, literally the Dark Zone. It's where the virus hit hardest, right in the middle of New York, where it went black first. You go in there. When you go in there, it is all players. So if me and you go in there as a squad or a fire team, there could be a bunch of other fire teams in there. But when you go in, everybody is the same. Everybody's friendlies. No one's fighting each other. But as soon as you shoot at someone in the Dark Zone, which you can shoot at anyone, you become rogue, and anybody in your fire team becomes rogue. And that starts up.
On a side note, when Luke says you can shoot at anyone, what I've seen and what I've heard from developers is that rings true. If you find a random person and you want to have them join your group online, or you've been match made with somebody and you take them into the Dark Zone, there's no reason why they can't turn on you and kill you.
Exactly.
And I think that is sweet. Honestly, that is cool. And to quote the developer that I heard say that, I mean, he's like, we want the opportunity for douchebaggery to be a possibility.
Exactly.
And I think that's awesome. I think that when you experience it in the game, I'm sure you probably won't think it's awesome, but yeah, who knows?
It brings that emotion in.
Yep, we'll see. And, you got to trust who you're bringing into your fire team or who you're going to the Dark Zone with as part of your squad.
Yeah, it's kind of like anything goes. You go to the Dark Zone, something crazy.
Better watch your mouth, Luke. I'll bust you up.
Oh,
no,
gosh. well, that brings, let's talk about loot then. In most of these games, in big MMOs and big RPGs, loot is important. So in most games, loot has different categories. Like in Destiny, yellow engrams, which is loot, is an exotic, which is extremely important, and purple ones are legendary. In this game, there are lots of loot. So there's white, which is common, green, which is standard, blue, which is specialized, purple, which is superior, and orange, which is legendary. So the higher the rarity, the better the damage and other stats. When you go into, and I say this because when you're in the Dark Zone, the developers have stated that is one of the best places to get the best gear. Because you're playing against other players, it's harder, there's going to be more skill involved, and it's a little bit more crazy because it's the Dark Zone. It's supposed to be unsafe. And the thing is, you can lose your same exact loot in there if you decide to go in there and fight people. So if
now, see, that I did not know.
Yes.
And I think that is extremely interesting.
It's very interesting because it could be good, it could be bad.
And, you hear about that with other MMOs online, and I think that's really cool. Another question some of you might be having right now, and even myself, when we talk about loot, in Destiny, when an engram drops, it's yours. And some people might say that, well, in other MMOs, when a piece of loot drops, it's fair game for anyone. That's not the case in Tom Clancy's The Division. Most of the things that drop are going to be respective to you. So it's yours. You don't have to worry about another player taking it. However, I've read that while in the dark zone, there could be public drops, which is basically just going to cause a fight. Everybody, it's fair
Huge
game
fight.
for anybody.
And that's what.
So
Yeah.
they have both, and I think that's really cool, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really dynamic, honestly, and that's what's gonna start stuff up. Like, I really like this guy, but if I kill him, is he gonna drop a orange? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I have an orange, and if I get killed, crap, he's gonna steal that. You know what I mean? And that's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that may get tweaked because anything that we talked about now could change because this is not the gold master. This is not the final version. This is just alpha stuff, basically what they've explained, what the people have played. So, continuing on. There's social hubs. There's different places in New York City where players can interact with other players, which they have these in a lot of MMO games.
And in-game vendors.
Yes, exactly. And those are called safe zones. No weapons or skills can be used in there. That's kind of like your base. You go. You talk to people. You can do all kinds of cool gestures and stuff, kind of like in Destiny with the dances and all that.
Yeah, the emotes.
Yeah, there's a bunch of emotes in here, technically, if you want to call it that. There's clans we've talked about. There's going to be clans and guilds in here, so you can kind of have a fire team of people that are always playing and dedicated. And there's going to be a dedicated website to this, which is going to be nice. And there's going to be dynamic choices. The way that you play the game, the way that you see things happening, the way that anything happens in this game is based on your choices. Because it's open world, because it's going to be different. Like, it's kind of like a game where we kind of know a lot of information about it, but it's still a big mystery as to what it's going to feel like once we get our hands on it. We got to get our hands on it first before we can really get that, like, instinctive feel of, wow, this is something different than what you don't hear games like this. Like, open world game, MMO, RPG, all this crazy stuff that you can do in one game.
Which is, it is interesting that you bring that up because you're like literally pulling thoughts from my mind right now because you don't hear about this, all these things rolled into one game. What you do hear about is, modern shooters. And modern shooters arguably are getting worn out. That's why you're seeing titles like Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, where things are futuristic. Things are being integrated in the games that aren't necessarily possible right now but could be in the future. This is things that are possible, but they're not wearing out the modern titles that we've seen in the past. They're refreshing it in a new way we've seen, with the RPG aspects, third-person, MMO characteristics, and even the fact that it's third-person is refreshing to me.
Oh, so refreshing.
It takes a lot for me to leave my first-person shooters because I love them so much. But this is a title that it looks like it's definitely going to be worth, taking a step out of my comfort zone and playing third-person because, I don't really like them. And it should be refreshing, but, I have high hopes.
Exactly.
That this might change my perspective on third-person games.
I think it can, and I think that it probably will in some sort. Okay, well, let's get to the engine real quick. The Snowdrop engine is what's running this game. It's technically next gen, is what they say. We're kind of in current gen now. We're a little bit in there, so I don't.
Yeah, current gen. That's what it is now. But when they were rolling it out
in 2013, it was next gen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when they talked about it at E3 2013, it was next gen.
Yeah, so essentially, there's really cool lighting effects. There's gonna be dynamic daytime, nighttime cycles, and then the third thing that I'm most excited for is that there's going to be weather patterns. So like it's in the winter here, so it's going to be snowing. When it snows, it actually snows and it gathers on the ground, and like it gets like there's actually snow on the ground from the snow that's coming, and then it melts whenever it gets sunny. Like, are you kidding me? I've been waiting for that for years.
It's not a joke either. He's honestly been talking about this for 2 years.
Like, why is that?
I swear.
If that's not in this, like if they downgrade the graphics, which we're about to talk about in a second, then I'll probably hate it because that's all I want is the stinking snow to melt and to gather on the ground. But
yeah.
That's the Snowdrop engine. It's supposed to be legendary. They actually had a video on their website, so if you want to see more about it, check out their website, thedivision.com or whatever. I don't know what it is. And that has a whole thing about how cool their system is. So let's talk about the map. That's our big discussion right now. The map. So the map is of New York City, but it has been changed from its original. It was originally supposed to be like all of New York City. You know what I mean? Like, it essentially said you could go to New Jersey in some of the map pictures that were in 2013. And it looks like basically what happened is they had an idea, they had a way they were going. And I think the developers decided, all right, there's a different way we want to go with this. We think that this different part of New York City is going to work better with our overall idea of what we want this game to be like. And in some stances, it's like, well, you had a unnormally large map that we all thought was going to be the biggest map of any video game ever, and it's not going to be. It's still going to be a freaking giant map because there's no vehicles in this game. So for no vehicles, this map is going to be like similar. Like, think about walking around in GTA, like in Los Santos. It's going to be like walking around in there without a car. It takes forever, and it feels like it's giant, but it's not as large as it could have been. So what do you think about like their decision to take out Brooklyn right now and make it possible? This is just a rumor. It could be DLC in the future because we know that Brooklyn is made. We know that it's a part of a map because we watched it in E3 footage in 2013 and 2014.
Well, if we're going to talk about what I think, I'm going to start with, my hopes first. My hopes are that the changes that were made by the developers and decisions that were made in a way that would make the game better. That's my hope. What I think has happened is something that's going on in gaming today. It's something that we're arguably getting used to seeing. And what that is developers and publishers, one or the other, we're not really sure who, but somebody's making the decisions based on income, revenue that can be generated by packaging this piece of content and reselling it later as DLC. And that's what I think has happened. I hope that I'm totally wrong, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I think it could be that. I have high hopes that they are smart and they know that they just were led in a different path. And I also think landmarks is important. They want people to be able to recognize and feel stuff that they've seen before. So a lot of, like I said earlier, I'm sure tons and tons and tons of people have been to New York and have been to Brooklyn, but I'm sure that a lot more people have been to the middle of New York, Times Square, those types of places. You know what I mean? And it's kind of sad because it right now it's not showing, like, Central Park is not going to be in the map as of right now. They could be like, just kidding, all of New York's in it, like right before Goldmaster comes out. But I guess we'll see in the beta because basically whatever's in the beta is going to be very similar to what comes out in the end.
Yeah, because there's just a few short months, between launch and the beta.
Exactly.
And hopefully they gather some awesome data from the beta and it helps them out. But at this point, whatever we see in the beta, I totally agree with you. It's pretty much going to be what we see in the final
at launch, which doesn't mean that they might still release more parts of the map as time goes for free.
You're right, and I absolutely hope you're right. And I absolutely hope that the reasons some maps aren't going to be available or some parts of the map won't be available at launch is because they want people to recognize these landmarks that you're talking about, and they want to make them as genuine as possible.
Exactly.
That would be really cool. And you know what? Like I said 100 times before in the past between us, Naughty Dog pushed back The Last of Us how many times?
Like 100.
But when it was finally launched, who honestly has complaints about that game?
No one. It is one of the best games ever created, honestly.
It is literally a masterpiece, and I live in high hopes that this game can go with that too, because that was a third-person shooter, and I loved it.
Oh, man. And that's saying something because this dude right here is a first-person shooter for life.
Yeah.
So let's get into one more small topic that Ubisoft has had an issue with a lot in the past, and that is downgrading graphics on games, downgrading the look, like literally a month or 2 months before a game comes out. So Watch Dogs, for instance, was it's just like this. This is very similar to Watch Dogs. Highly, hyped. They showed some of the best looking footage ever at E3. Every time they showed it, it got, delayed several times. And then we get the game. Some of the textures are just poor. There was a huge graphical downgrade, compared to every last thing that they showed us. And it's just sad that happens. And the same thing happened with Assassin's Creed Unity. Like, the game was broken on day one. Literally, people couldn't play it because it was running in like 15 frames per second instead of the 60 frames per second that they planned for. So my big scare is this game going to be graphically different than they announced? Obviously, it already is, because I'm looking right now at a picture of the footage in 2013 compared to the footage of 2014 compared to the footage of right now. and it looks a lot different. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look terrible, but it looks like a lot of the details, because they do state that this map is supposed to be one of the most detailed maps that has ever been in a video game. If that's true, then I'm sure something has had to change to make it work with these systems, because when they first were announcing this game, they thought that this system was going to be just ridiculous, and it is a good system. But I think a lot of these companies, they try to figure out, all right, what can we take out to make this game run smoother for users? And that first thing they usually take out is the graphical fidelity. They're going to make it a little bit less than what it was before. It's still great, but it's not like jaw-dropping like they show us.
So let me ask you this, not to interrupt you at all, because I don't want to do that, so hold on to that thought. But if they have reduced the graphics to create a smoother experience for the gamer, is that something that you find acceptable, or do you think it's something fishier, whereas they put out amazing graphics and they try to market amazing, groundbreaking graphics right out of the gate as a means of building hype, and then reducing the graphics slowly, almost to, sort of fly it under the radar. We'll never notice.
Like we don't notice that.
Yeah, as a marketing stunt almost. What do you think? Is it acceptable to downgrade graphics for a user experience?
I don't think that it's acceptable. But if you're going to announce a game with this amazing look, but it can't work, the right way for the way they want it to work for a user, then don't announce it that way, because a user, first of all,
totally agree.
That's a perfect example of what a gamer wants. They want the most insane looking graphics, and they want it to work. So if you're going to show us one, you have to have the other. If you're going to if you might as well just show us the game looking halfway as good, but we know it works, because it's just like a punch in the face. Like, yeah, this game's going to be the most good looking game. All right, cool. I'm so excited. I'm going to wait for 4 years. And then it comes out and it's like, crap. Are you kidding me? Like, that's something I feel really strongly about.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's hurtful to the gamers and to the people that have to experience it if they don't.
Well, not only that, but the developers should be thinking about one thing that is very important to the success of this title and maybe future sequels to this title. If they had, we already know it's Ubisoft. They're going to make sequels. They don't invest time and effort into games that can't be built into a year-to-year empire.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But a relationship between the developer and the community is something that's at stake here. And if you start marketing something that is graphically amazing and groundbreaking, you have to keep it that way. Otherwise, in my opinion, and as somebody that will eventually be part of this community, it almost feels untruthful. It feels like I was lied to, which is not. It's not a good foot to start this relationship.
Not at all.
With,
it's
at
not,
all.
And that's why I wanted to bring up this subject, because it's something that Ubisoft has been known for, and it may not happen. This may be the best looking game we've ever seen. This is just speculation on their past. I really hope that they don't do this, but I'm just saying it's definitely a topic that we had to hit, and I really hope that it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I have really high hopes, so I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that already graphically it has went down, but that typically just happens in games. So that's The Division, guys. That's pretty much all of it in a very short amount of time. and I don't want to talk too much more about it, because I want people to be able to experience it. And that's going to be possible for almost everyone. If you pre-ordered the game, you're going to be able to play the beta.
Access the closed beta, and that's their way of pushing pre-orders.
And the closed beta starts on January 28th for Xbox One users. So if you've pre-ordered it for Xbox One, you can play it January 28th. Anyone that is pre-ordered it for PS4 and PC can play it on the January 29th, and the beta ends on January 31st, which is, very, very fast. That's a fast beta, so maybe it's going to be freaking awesome, so good that they only want to have it up for a couple days. Also, if you can't, if you didn't pre-order, you're still kind of, you want to play it first, which is, I'm not pre-ordering. I know I'm going to buy it, but I don't want to pre-order. You can go to thedivisiongame.com/beta, and you can basically sign up to maybe get chosen.
Yeah, it's basically a waiting list.
Yeah, it's a waiting list to get a beta code.
believe.
I've signed up. I think Travis has signed up. And they basically sent me an email saying, if you get chosen, we'll let you know. And I'm assuming they'll just let us know the day of or the day after. So we're definitely hoping to get a chance to play it. That's on January 28th for Xbox One, January 29th for PS4. And I think it's going to be sick. I'm really excited for this game. So that's all I got today. Travis, you got anything else that you can think of?
I mean, we've touched on a lot of things, and by no means, in a short podcast can we, go as deep as we might like to on every detail of this game, because there are hundreds and there's tons of stuff that we could break down and talk about in a preview. But we've given you what I think is good information, and information that will take you into the launch or even the beta and be good and valuable.
100%. Well, we're very thankful for you guys to listen today. We hope that you made it this far to the end. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, love, perfect, whatever buttons that this is on. Press those buttons. And check us out on Facebook at Clueless Gamers. And check us out on Twitter at Clueless Gamers 2. Follow us, retweet us.
Yeah.
All the above.
Yeah, we appreciate everything you guys are doing, and those of you who are continuously liking and retweeting and sharing our stuff, thank you so much.
Yeah, it does. And
really
we're
does
just
mean
starting.
a lot.
We got so much more that we have planned to offer you guys. It's going to be fun. We appreciate it. So, my name's Luke Carmichael. That was Travis Crawford. We look forward to next week. That was the Cluecast. Peace out, guys.